some of the latest material I've read and that I've got from Ingo Swann in the archives, and some of the things he encountered when he telepathically remote viewed the moon. This stuff hasn't been released in public yet. He details that the races he encountered out there on the dark side of the moon had two sets of telepaths. They had offensive telepaths and they had defensive telepaths. So the defensive ones were there literally to stop people encroaching on the moon, and then they had the offensive ones which went out and did other stuff. And he was a proponent of writing articles and papers on that. He felt that there was an element in the universe, I don't know if it's extraterrestrial or just non-physical, that was there to hinder the development of human consciousness and telepathic powers.
Which speaks again to this idea of this balancing force in all things. Like there's that duality of balance, keeping things in harmony. Yeah.
We as humans always like to think of things in black and white, and it's not quite like that. It's always on a moving scale of things, I think. So I think there are life forms, non-physical life forms, and probably alien as well, because I think there's different ones. I think there are life that have been on different levels of this planet that we can't generally see longer here than we have. I think there are good ones of those, and there are also bad ones of those. And I think the universe itself on many different levels is always striving for a sense of balance, and it's never going to have a sense of complete balance. But sometimes it slips slightly into a darker side and slightly into a lighter side at other times. And I think that's what may be happening on many different levels.
Yeah, I think we sit in the middle of it, and we have a bunch of opinions about what's good and bad or right or wrong through that, when really the harmony, like you would listen to a piece of music, you don't say, the low notes and the pauses between the notes are bad ones, we should avoid those and only play these. But we don't understand that whole balance of everything and perfection.
And we have to bear in mind as well, as a race of human beings, we've probably influenced in what we did, but for many thousands of years, we've hobbled ourselves in that. Throughout history, we have essentially tracked down and killed many of the people with these intuitive powers and techniques and stuff. The witch hunts and all kinds of religious things that have gone out and destroyed people that are seers and prophets. So we've not been I believe some of that was from our own making. But I also believe that some of it was probably influenced by beings in the universe that do not want us to reach our goal, as much as there are ones out there that do want us to reach our goal.
Yeah. And it seems like sometimes along that path, you get experiences where it seems to go really well and the interaction is going really well. And then suddenly it takes a bizarre trickster sort of turn, and then the whole thing falls apart. And sometimes to the people's ruin or even their own death, like you were saying.
It's crazy. It's so complex. Sometimes I feel I understand it, and sometimes I feel like I'm just a child playing in a box of sand and letting it run through your fingers, thinking, what am I doing here?
So Daz, you're one of the leading and most accurate, credible remote viewers today. Do you have any concerns about that, about getting on the radar of not only people that know that this stuff is real and legitimate and have keen interests on it, but also these other entities and other beings that maybe don't have your best interests in what you have to show and teach mankind? Do you have any stories or any insight about that, or in your life experience?
I mean, I haven't had any battles with any dark beings for many years now, not since I stopped doing the classical stuff. But it might be because I went down a whole different route with the remote viewing. It was a bit more focused in that most of the work we do within remote viewing is on physical targets that exist, whereas my previous decade of work before that was essentially going into the realms of these psychic entities where essentially where they live, where they inhabit, because that's what you do when you go into the channel and the deep spaces of your meditation and stuff. You go out there, whereas I think remote viewing is me in here putting the information into me rather than extending myself out into their universe.
Kind of like looking into the spyglass as opposed to going on the vacation.
Yes. Yeah, you could equate it like that. Yeah.
Okay, well, that makes sense. It's so fascinating to me. So maybe we can dig into this a little bit. What are some of the more phenomenal or interesting remote viewing targets that surprised you, that are shocking in regards to the phenomenon, or maybe even not? Like, I know that you've done one that blew my mind was the JFK assassination.
That's
And
what I was just about to say. Yeah.
how you followed John F Kennedy through the task and actually continued and had a whole kind of a viewing experience of what it was like him going into a sort of afterlife. Or can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I would say that was my probably my favorite and most influential remote viewing sessions. So yeah, it was a blind target that was tasked to me by the Farsight Institute over a period of weeks, maybe even a period of months. I can't remember too much now. And it started off on paper, and then once we finished paper stuff, Courtney literally just said, "You've done enough paper now. Now do the whole thing on whiteboard," which is what we did.
And you had you had no idea through the whole thing until it was revealed at the very end, like on camera, that it was even the JFK assassination that you were doing.
I mean, obviously, you know, because I'd done paper sessions first, I built up a kind of idea of data in my head and on paper of what the target might be. But no one gets back to you in the process and says, "Yeah, you're correct. Carry on doing it," or anything.
Like, and, at step one, on day one, you have no idea when you're given those numbers. It could be something in the ocean or something.
Yeah, it could be anything in the universe. And bear in mind, when I worked those ones with Courtney, like the JFK one, I wasn't even given a number. It was literally, you know, we're on our 8th mysteries target. Your target number is mysteries 8.
And it ends up being the JFK assassination, which was the target that they put in the. Wow. Yes. Okay.
You know, we don't. For us, it could have been. I mean, in those cases, we were doing a run of targets called mysteries. So, I guess I was front loading the fact it could have been one of the millions of mysteries in the universe.
Sure.
I had no idea what it was going to be. Yeah, and it didn't even have a target number. As I said, I think it was called something like 8 or 12 or something. So in that case, when I did my RV sessions, I just used the date of the day I was doing it on. So like today, the number of, if I used today's number for my focus number, it'd be 2608, the 26th of August. And that would be what I would use is my focus number. So yeah, I did my paper sessions. And then and I send them back to Courtney, and he would, he would either send a message back saying like, carry on, or you've done enough now. And eventually, after doing about 6 of those, he said, yeah, you've done enough. Now do the whole thing that you've done on paper, do it on whiteboard in front of a camera. So I started that live in front of a camera, and I was recording all the information, and it felt like there was information that seems to be accurate for the Kennedy assassination. I didn't know that at the time, but I had fast-moving small objects coming in towards a life form that was interacting with that life form, which, so bullets kind of thing, and I felt that it was all moving in a vehicle, that kind of stuff. But during the remote viewing session, live on whiteboard, I kind of wandered off target in that I felt that there was a life form having an event that felt like it was a life event. It was something very serious. So I decided to shift my attention towards that and follow it. And that's essentially what this video comprises of. But funnily enough, Courtney, because it was so off target and it wasn't, following someone as they go through a death event, wasn't essentially part of the target. All that information ended up on the cutting room floor. Courtney didn't use it in the original video because that didn't interest him. It was only after we did it that I thought it was so profound, and that me and Dick put that together in its own separate video.
Yeah, can you describe a little bit? So you followed, basically, for people that might be struggling this, you remote viewed blindly the JFK assassination event and moment.
Yes.
And then that remote viewing experience carried over where you followed what appeared to be the target, which was John F. Kennedy, proceeding into some sort of an afterlife realm. And what did you see that like? What was the afterlife for?
Well, with remote viewing, it's a bit of a misnomer, really. You don't really see an awful lot. It's generally all about internal feelings.
Sure.
And feelings, ideas, and concepts. And literally, it was amazing in that there was more, I knew it was a life of a person, a life form going through an event which felt like it was a violent event. So I was recording that on the paper, and you could feel and hear and see all the emotions. So there was all these emotions of panic and dread and anger and thinking about kids and family and money and situations, all the physical things we think about on a day-to-day basis. And literally, it was like a light switch just instantly flicked up, and just everything like that. That was just all gone instantly. And then it was just like a moment of just almost like pink kind of peace and quietness. There was like lots of noise, all this, oh no, heal or help, oh pain, emotion, and then it's just gone. And it's almost like someone flicks a switch, light goes on or something, or the light goes off, but all the sound goes off at the same time. And it's just quiet, peacefulness, love, kind of like it's all that rolled into one, really. And then I ended up feeling that it was definitely someone going through a death event. And I had a sensation that out of this kind of nothingness that was there, this quiet, I could sense these forms almost manifesting, but they weren't physical, but they weren't non-physical at the same time. They were kind of half and half. They were just like energy forms that vaguely resembled shapes of people that started coming forward, meeting and conversing and interacting with I guess JFK, or the life form that I was following. And it was just all peaceful, love, kind of quiet, kind of. I've never had feelings like it, other than the closest thing I've got to that kind of sensation is very, very deep meditation when you're totally not in touch with your body anymore. But even that doesn't come close to the feelings that I was feeling that he was going through. But after that light switch thing goes off, it's almost like his emotions and worry over everything that was physical and the physical life just instantly disappeared. It's not like it dissipated; it just like instantly disappeared, which was quite interesting.
Yeah, I remember watching the video of you going through on the dry erase board, and that blew my mind. Just going in, carrying on into the afterlife, and the way that you described it is just so phenomenal. How almost like his soul or consciousness was moving into this unknown realm, almost like it was a foggy, cloudy sort of space. Yes. And then what he was perceiving as like loved ones or ancestors or familiar sort of like people approaching him or emerging out of this cloud, you were perceiving sort of differently, third person, sort of as though the relatives or the people that were familiar to him were emerging as the energy of the cloud around him itself, almost like from his own consciousness and the energy, they sort of are able to come and say hi and welcome and hear you.
Yes.
And it's so phenomenal to me what that says about the afterlife continuing into another dimension, another realm, and how that all works. And
that's pretty much one of the most amazing for me. And I would say the second one on my list is probably when I did Area 51 and I went down through all the different levels of that.